You're listening to a special interview segment for the official podcast for WrestlingNewsSource.com.
Okay, folks, joining us on the show this week, current Reality of Wrestling champion. He is a part of Team International, the one and only Gustavo Mendoza. Mr. Mendoza, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We certainly do appreciate it. Getting ready for Christmas Chaos, taking place December 14th out at the Clear Lake Sports and Recreation Center at 16511 Diana Lane in Houston. Showtime is going to be at 7:30. Doors are going to be opening at 6:30. Make sure you get on out there. Going to be special guests, the Boogeyman, as well as Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat. The Samoan Beast going up against Jared Steele. It's going to be a no-holds-barred match. Definitely want to check out that one. The Lockharts versus Aiden Cristiano and Mr. X. Ruthless Ryan Davidson versus Mysterious Q, match number 2 in a best-of-5 series. The Pride going up against you, sir, Gustavo Mendoza, for the ROW Championship. Are you ready for this?
I think the most generic answer would be, yeah, I'm ready for it, but I really have been preparing for this one match I've known about this match for about 2 months now, but I've actually been prepared for it for about 7 years. This thing with Chris and I, the Pride, it goes back way before the ROW was even born, really, because both, I'm going to call him Chris. I don't want to call him the Pride. But he and I, we trained at the same place. We trained under Booker's school for the PWA, the Pro Wrestling Academy, and we always had this unspoken rivalry. We always had this, he was there first, and he kind of, he was showing me the ropes for a little bit, and I was kind of training alongside with him. And once he started doing the shows, what eventually would have become the ROW, we never got a chance to work each other. We never wrestled each other. But that unspoken rivalry sort of took this interesting turn, and it got a little personal for a while, and we really didn't do it on the show. I tried to keep it as professional as I could, but when it comes down to it, I really just don't like the guy. I won't take anything from his incredible athleticism, and the guy's a good wrestler for sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to finally kind of matching up with him and proving myself right after all these years.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be a great matchup. I'm sure the fans are going to love it. We do have some exclusive announcements. Haven't been announced yet, but we get the exclusive on it. Kelly Kevin going to be taking on Cinema. Also, Rockstar Rowby going to be taking on Cedric Payne. So also to be scheduled in action, Kid Ransom, Alex Rain, Sergey Volkov, American Eagle, Abel Andrew Jackson, so much more. It's going to be a great show. To be a part of a group like this, how did you originally get into wrestling?
It's really kind of a funny story. I was 18. I had just graduated out of high school, and my uncle told me that Booker T was having a open house 4 minutes from where we live. My uncle's Rubio, who's my manager. We both grew up as wrestling fans. I mean, it's what kept us so close together. We bonded over it, and the open house was like, we got to go check it out. We always thought wouldn't it be great to just at least try it, to say that that we did it, and not knowing or thinking that it could ever lead to anything. Certainly not realizing that it could lead to whatever ROW has opened its doors for us. We met with Book, and he kind of gave us. He told us, this is the reality. This is what it really is. It's not easy, and you have to have a certain love for it. And being 18, there was no way I wasn't going to sign up. And he and I both signed up in 2006, and I've been doing it with I've been at Book's gym ever since.
Very cool. What were your first impressions working with Booker?
He's a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. Man, the guy can shake a hand for sure. He's got a grip. But I think the first thing that really kind of just hit me was how he sees things is completely different than you wouldn't be able to catch certain details the way he sees things. Like the both of us could be in the same room watching the very same thing, and he will catch everything under the sun. He looks at everything from every possible angle, and things that it just blows my mind. And he's very, very he's a very skilled, psychology is what we call it, but he's really good at what he does. And I mean, not that anybody ever really questioned that.
We actually we had Booker on kind of, I guess, when ROW was ramping up, getting ready to debut, and one of the questions we asked Booker was, all you guys being his students, we're like, so we kind of pushed him to name some guys coming, from his school that he thought pretty highly of, who's someone that we should be looking out for, and you're like one of the guys he threw out there immediately. So how does it feel to think like the Booker T thinks Gustavo Mendoza when he's like throwing guys out there?
I'm really surprised that. I mean, it always surprises me when he says that. The reason it surprises me is because, back to that story when I first went to go meet with Book, what I kind of left out was at the same time that I went to go meet with him and find out information, he was, of course, I found this out years later. He was actually trying to get me not to join. But I couldn't see it. I was so blinded by the fact that I was in the same place, not just in the same place with Booker, but I was in the same place, with a ring. I was his old gym was a big warehouse and had 4 or 5 different training rings. I've never seen that many rings in my life, and I was more starstruck with the rings, to be honest. But later on, I found out, when you first met up with us, I was actually trying to get you not to join because I didn't think that you really were going to last very long in the training. I go, really? You really said that? And he said, and you know what? You ended up kind of proving me wrong because you stuck around. And he said that he told that story to everybody that kind of went in, and he sort of stopped. He gave everybody a chance from that point on, thinking, well, I'm gonna. I was proven wrong once, and I think everybody deserves a chance at their dream. And from that point on, that kind of started. But yeah, yeah, that's all I got to say about this.
Well, very cool stuff. And for those of you who don't follow ROW, you are part of a group called Team International. How did that group come to be? And what's your main mission?
The thing with Team International, we've been doing Team International pretty much the entire run of ROW, but we've actually been doing longer. We've been doing Team International a lot longer than that. I think the name came once we had Evan Cristiano joined the group. Originally, we were Team Cuba, just me and Rubio. And, me and Aiden had a really good chemistry, and it just made sense. So we couldn't be called Team Cuba, and then Team International just kind of grew out of that. And then after a while, we started recruiting more people, and Sergei Rolkov joined the group, and then we had X, and then Reina, and then with Rubio. So after a while, we had a pretty big stable, and Team International just kind of stuck. As far as our mission, originally the idea was that I wanted to get Team International on the very first episode, but I was told that we should hold off on Team International, that they just want to introduce all the people, because once we started ROW, we were branching out to a bigger audience, and not everybody knew who all of us were, so they just wanted to introduce our characters, which I understood. So I did a lot of singles work before, we were still at Team International, but we weren't really going out there doing our thing. And finally, I kind of hit a bit of a slump, and I was doing really poorly for about a good 4 to 5 episodes. I was on a losing streak, and then finally I was like, you just need to do this team international thing now, because it's not working out too well for me without it. So we went ahead and we did team international, and I think it was around the time of the Olympics that just passed. So I kind of coined the phrase that team international was going to start winning, and the team international was going to take all of the gold. And then I just really liked how that sounded, and it made a lot of sense to me. So, I'm just going to start saying it until somebody starts noticing that we won all the gold. And before you know it, we were all champions now. So
I've actually seen you work, quite a bit of times in quite a few different companies. Of course, ROW, back in the PWA days, we've seen you for TSAW, Gulf Coast Power Pro, this now Hurricane Pro. I think the majority of the times that I've seen you work, you've always been heel. I mean, is that something you're like most comfortable with, and where you like to be as a character, or do you see yourself branching out as a babyface? Or?
Well, I think that's the easiest way for people to really understand. I think I can get the very most out of Gustavo Mendoza from that point of view. It's easier for me to just say that I really don't care what people think about me than for me to go out there and favor it to them. They'll either like the work or they won't like the work. That if they cheer it, then they like the work. If they boo it, then they don't like it. And I for a while, I think I did do babyface for about I think I did it for like 6 months, and just when I first wanted to join the gym, I actually thought that that's what I wanted to do, because it is. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in wrestling or it's in your real life. It's really hard to get people to like you that don't know you.
Right.
And I mean, you'll be judged a lot harsher for trying to get people to like you. And I realized that people were overlooking certain things about my matches because, for a brief while I was trying the babyface thing, and it's just, I didn't like it. I had gotten so used to, being more of myself, and the Gustavo really just kind of comes out a lot easier when I'm on full heel mode. And, after a while, you just really start to like it. I'm not going to lie. You just really like it.
It's just more fun being a heel.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
what's the best kind of reaction you've gotten from a crowd playing heel?
As far as like them really just not liking what I was doing, or as far as them like cheering me.
Ever having like any grannies flip you off, or just any kind of crazy reaction?
I once had a guy in a mullet chant some really racist things to me but it was in a lucha show, so I don't know how smart that was. It was really, really bizarre. Actually, recently, and it happened twice. Not to give away too much of, because I believe we recently had episode 51 of ROW premiere last week. This coming week is 52, which is the most recent show. It'll be the last show before Christmas Chaos. The last show I was on, which I believe was 49 and 52, there's something that I do on the show that this one particular fan wasn't too pleased with, that I heard actually left the venue when I did it on episode 49. And then when I did it again in episode 52, same fan got up and left again.
At least you already paid.
I took it as a compliment. Yeah.
You already got their money. What else do they need?
So I'm sure that person's not real happy with me right now, but, what can I say? It's the job. I got to do, going out there to do what I do best,
How do you feel about, we hear a lot, we kind of pride ourselves on being like trying to have a sense of community along online with listeners, and what we hear like more and more often these days is fans that they seem to want more shades of gray in their characters, and it seems like to this newer generation of fans, like the babyface heel dynamic is like not as important to them, and they just want to see like dudes doing moves and stuff like that. Like as a younger guy coming up, obviously you've been in the game for a few years now, but how important is the babyface heel dynamic to you as a wrestler?
I think it's, I mean, it really, in my opinion, really is the most important aspect of the wrestling business, because I mean, you know, I'm a big, you know, movie buff, you know, good ones and bad ones. You watch any good movie, any, you know, The Matrix is the first thing that comes to mind. So you watch The Matrix, you know, you got Neo and you got Smith. You know, you got the good guy, you got the hero, and you got the bad guy. You know, it drives the story, and essentially it takes you to where, you know, you watch a movie so you can see how it ends. And in any good match, everybody watches to see who wins. And I think people get emotionally invested in a match where they have, you know, they care about people. And the best way to draw emotion is, you know, faces. You know, when you got a good guy there, you know, whether you like him or not. You know, there's a lot of people out there that don't like the baby faces. They think it's too corny. They like the heels a lot better. You know, everybody has their own flavor of ice cream. But I think that it's not that it's an easier, like you can follow it a lot easier, but I think that it just makes for better. It just makes for a better wrestling match, to be honest, just to have that concept. You know, they do have, you know, like they have the babyface matches, and those are good, and it's good to have them. And the even more rare heel versus heel matches, you know, they're good to have, but I think that the classic match is what people really pay to see.
Well, you spoke a little bit about how some fans think it's kind of corny and kind of played out. But as a guy who works heel a lot, how do you feel about fans that cheer heels? Would you rather, if someone appreciates your work as a heel, would you rather their response be to boo you in appreciation of your work, or would you rather it be like organic? They would cheer you if they like you, or boo you if they don't like you.
I think my first reaction is to say that, you know, if they boo me, it'd be better. The reason I say that is because I'm not going to segregate the crowd. I'm not going to, you know, if you're cheering for me and everybody else is booing me, I'm not going to point out, you know, I'm going to treat them all the very same.
Right.
You know, I'm going out there, I'm going to give them the same performance. I'm not going to start singling out people in the crowd just because they like me. And that's I would consider that a selfish way of going about my job. I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job. My job is to go out there and be myself to everyone, and not, you know, segregate and I don't want to say break character, but, you know, I don't want to go away from what I'm trying to do, because if I do that, then I stop. Then my, you know, like you said earlier, like, what is our mission? Well, I would feel like our mission would sort of derail after that it wouldn't be as impactful. And I think that it's important to, you know, to go out there and, you know, if they're all booing at me, then that's great. If some people are cheering, you know, I'm not going to tell them, stop cheering at me because I'm a bad guy. If they want to cheer, that's great. You know, because at the end of the day, any reaction is better than no reaction.
Right.
So, I mean, if I went out there and nobody was saying anything, that's when I'd be really worried, to be honest, because nobody wants that. You know, because they're all going to be entertained, and people are entertained differently. So I have no say or control of how someone's going to, you know, when I hit a clothesline, you know, someone might like it, someone might not. You know, that's you know, that's up to them. You know.
And we've had a lot of people on the show over the past, you know, few years that we've been doing this, and we tend to ask, you know, a reoccurring question just to sort of get a base on it, because, you know, Doug and Tyler, big comic fans, and, you know, they tend to ask, you know, do you feel like there is a connection between comics and wrestling, whereas, you know, you can identify yourself as a different persona and I think Doug would
Absolutely,
probably ask it a little bit better.
Yeah, we see it as like real life superheroes and supervillains. We think there's like a big crossover audience there, and we're just kind of interested in getting everyone's take on that.
Oh no, I mean, I completely agree that. I mean, what other job can you wear tights? You know, it's true. I mean, and it's that same complex where, you know, I mean, and this even kind of applies to what you were saying earlier, but like, how do you feel about when, you know, the fans are booing at you when they're supposed to be cheering at you, or cheering at you when they're supposed to be booing at you? That's kind of like the X-Men, right? Like, you know, they're mutants, and then the humans don't really like them, but then they still do good. And I mean, that's kind of like the Cena complex right there, right? I mean, they don't like you, but you're doing the right thing. I feel that, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and I'm not even going to mention how many people in the business that, you know, adore comics and stuff like that. So, and myself included. So yeah, I definitely see the similarities. I mean, it's, yeah, it's like that question that was, that opinion that was stated in Kill Bill 2, where they talk about, you know, are you Peter Parker putting on the suit to become Spider-Man, or are you Superman putting on the costume to become Clark Kent? You know, I think there are definitely similarities between the two. And I just wish we actually had superpowers. That'd be great.
Take wrestling to a whole new level.
Yeah, that would be a show to watch for sure.
ROW obviously has like a really great web presence with the YouTube show, getting out there weekly. Obviously that's really great for exposure. But another thing that I kind of wonder about it, and something I've kind of noticed about seeing you guys show, is working for the camera. I think it's like something that's a criticism that's kind of hoisted upon a lot of guys, especially even like top name indie guys, like when they're making the jump. Like a lot of people, often criticism is not being able to work towards the camera, because even your big name indies with like DVD and MP4 distribution, it feels like a lot of the times those guys are just having their matches, and if they catch the right angles, then great, but they're not necessarily working to the camera. Is that something like Book like concentrates on with you guys, and is it something that another, you know, a positive coming out of ROW other than exposure is like working towards the camera?
I think the way he puts it, it's more of just be aware of the camera. You know, the camera is an audience all of its own, and you know, I always see it. You know, you don't want to leave out the people that are there, but at the same time, you know, you have to pay respect to the camera, because, you know, there's a lot more people watching at home. So, you know, we're definitely aware of the camera. You know, we got our own hard camera, and then we got the, you know, 2 or 3 roaming cameras ringside, and, you know, you know, but at the same time, it's a balance. You have to be aware of all these things, but at the same time, it doesn't, you don't want to take away from what you're trying to do in the ring. You want to make sure to execute things, you know, execute your moves, and when you striking your poses, you want to put yourself in the position that's when you're catering towards the, you know, the cameras and stuff. But at the same time, you don't want to segregate. You know, you don't want to ignore the people that are actually there. So yeah, that is definitely something that ROW does a little different than some of the other promotions that I've seen in the Texas area, for sure.
You feel that like gives you guys a leg up on a lot of independent wrestlers out there?
That have come through ROW?
Well, just in general. I mean, do you feel like that's like an aspect of your game that's you know, more polished than some guys who maybe don't have the opportunity to work with cameras? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think the biggest advantage of ours, I mean, and of course I'm not, you know, obviously having Booker there is probably the biggest benefit to us, but the setup, the stage, the screens, commentators, the you know, the equipment, the cameras, the lighting, it's the most professional looking indie place I've ever seen. You know, it almost like it's the most pro we can get while still being in the indies. And, you know, I've wrestled out of a VFW hall and, you know, with one curtain that's barely dangling over the doorway. Well, it's the same doorway as people walking in. You know, obviously some productions are, you know, are different than others. And also that means that some shows cater to different things, you know. You know, those shows are, you know, could be considered maybe kids shows, and then it's different, you know. But for our show, we, because when we had PWA, and we had PWA, for those of you that don't know, that PWA has been around or was around for about a good 4 or 5 years. And once we decided that we wanted to branch out to a bigger audience, because we were having really good shows, or at least we were fairly confident that there were really good shows. But nobody was watching. We couldn't, you know, we had the people that were there, but, you know, maybe we'd put out a match here, a match there, you know, but nobody would know what storyline to follow. It was really going out there and just putting out all this work and all these matches, and we were having great shows, but nobody knew where we were. Nobody knew of us, you know, and at the end of the day, if nobody knows of you, then, you know, what have you really done? So ROW sort of grew out of that, out of Book, knowing that he can put on those really great shows, and then finally building a stage for us to have those shows in them, and going out and wrestling at other places. We sort of we learned a lot of things. You know, that's where we learned how to really use the crowd to our advantage, and apply it to the performance. You know, and I'm sure, you know, some of the baby faces, the good guys, you know, I'm sure they feed off of, you know, when the fans cheer them. I'm sure when they boo them, you know, they probably try to ignore it, but definitely, I promise you that they hear the cheers more than they hear the boos, and they use that towards their performance. But all that was learned, you know, and ROW is the sort of the culmination of all that hard work.
Very cool.
What wrestlers were you a fan of growing up?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a Hulkamaniac when I was a little kid. But
Same here, brother.
I mean, who wasn't, right? I mean, geez. But I mean, Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
God, that guy just got better as he got older. He just, yeah, I definitely looked at him as far as how he went out there and how he told his story. You know, I see the matches as stories, and how he tells his were, in my opinion, you know, second to none. As far as work goes, right now I'm actually really high on Shinsuke Nakamura from New Japan. That guy, to me, is probably the coolest guy out there. If you guys haven't seen him, he's the New Japan Intercontinental Champion over there, and the coolest looking wrestler, in my opinion, and guys going out there and having killer matches. So I'd say those two guys are definitely my inspiration and my muses to, you know, continue towards the wrestling business.
Cool.
You spoke earlier about you know, getting reactions from the crowd, whether it be positive or negative, just as long as you're getting some sort of reaction. When you go to a place for the first time, you know, the fans don't know about your character. They don't know who you are. They don't really know whether to cheer or boo you when they, like I said, when they first see you. So how do you establish yourself? Like, when does that moment begin? Does it begin like whenever you're making your way to the ring, or do you wait and let your actions in the ring speak for themselves?
It's funny because this is really true. The way I'll know is as soon as I walk in through the curtain, the very first thing I yell off the top of my lungs is Cuba, and that usually gives me a lot of boos. And you know, and I even tried it as when my brief stint as babyface. I still got boos. So just, you know, the general consensus is people do not like foreigners. That's what I got out of that. So I couldn't answer that question because everybody hates me.
So it's, you know, as you're walking out of the curtain, that's when you establish yourself. Because
it is, you know, because and this is another. I mean, this is how it is for me. You can ask this question to anyone else, and they might give you a different answer. But all day I could be thinking about, because I like those little details. The entrances. That's really important. That's as important to the story. Because that's your entrance into the match. And I always think, it'd be great, maybe I'll, try this, or, maybe wear this, vest or jacket, wave the flag or whatever. But as soon as I get out there, it just comes to you. You don't think about it, you just do it. The very first thing that comes to mind, that's the best route to go. And I can't help but just make this face. And it's just, people just do not like it. I just got this mean little stare, and I can't help it. It just, there's really cool music playing in the background, and it just comes out, so, people can like it maybe because they like bad guys, but generally people don't like it.
Very cool stuff. Well, we look forward to hearing you scream out Cuba at the top of your lungs. December 14th, Clear Lake Sports and Recreation Center, 16511 Diana Lane, Houston. Showtime going to be 7:30. Christmas Chaos 8. Like we said earlier, Gustavo Mendoza versus the Pride ROW Championship. Don't want to miss that. Also, the Boogeyman set to appear, as well as Stevie Ray, many other matches. For all the information on that, you can go to realityofwrestling.com. You can go to feed.com. That's PHEED.com/Booker T. You can also find the show on YouTube by searching youtube.com/the Booker T ROW. You can follow him on Twitter at Booker T ROW. Gustavo, do you have any social media outlets out there for you?
I do. I got my Twitter account, Gusto_M88, capital G, Gusto_capital M88.
Very cool.
For my Twitter account, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, we certainly do appreciate you coming on. Hope to see you out there out at Christmas Chaos. And we certainly appreciate having you on.
Thanks, Gustavo.
All right, thanks, guys.